chosen ones, pause whatever you are doing right now. I have an urgent and weighty message to release, and this message is not for everyone. If you are not walking the divine path, if your heart is not aligned with God, you will feel restless listening to this, and it is better you leave now. But if you are still here, if something within you feels pulled to stay, then understand this clearly. God allowed this message to reach you, and it has arrived at the exact moment your spirit could receive it. Nothing about this is accidental. There is a woman sent by God, and she carries restoration in her hands. She is not coming to take from you, but to give you what life, people, and circumstances have denied you for years. What was withheld, delayed, or taken unfairly is about to be balanced through divine order. And no, this is not fantasy. This is alignment. If you stay with me until the end, you will understand why your past had to break you the way it did, and why this next chapter will heal you differently than anything before. This message will settle your mind and strengthen your spirit. Before we continue, chosen ones, like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, tap the bell icon, and share this message with other chosen ones who need clarity right now. And comment 777 to declare that you are aligned, receptive, and ready for what God is releasing in your life.
Who the chosen ones really are, and why they are always denied. Now listen to me carefully. If you are one of God's chosen ones, your life has never followed a normal pattern. From an early stage, you felt different. Not better than others, not worse, but separate. You saw deeper. You felt stronger. You questioned things others accepted easily. And because of that, life did not hand you things freely. It tested you first. Chosen ones are not denied because they are unworthy. They are denied because they are dangerous to darkness. And darkness always tries to delay what it cannot destroy. What you carry inside you is not ordinary. It threatens systems, exposes lies, and disrupts comfort zones. That is why resistance met you early. Most people receive things quickly because what they carry is light. But what you carry is heavy. You carry responsibility, influence, and spiritual weight. God does not place weight on weak foundations. That is why your life feels like preparation after preparation, lesson after lesson, loss after loss. Not because God enjoys watching you struggle, but because He is building something in you that cannot collapse later. You were denied love, so you would learn discernment. You were denied support, so you would learn self-reliance in God. You were denied comfort, so you would learn strength. You were denied validation, so you would stop seeking it from people. Each denial was shaping a part of you that comfort never could. This is where many chosen ones get confused. They ask, God, why do others receive what I pray for so easily? What you don't see is that many people receive quickly because they are not trusted with much. You are trusted with much, so you are trained longer. Speed is not favor. Depth is. Denial is not rejection. Delay is not abandonment. Silence is not absence. For chosen ones, denial is often protection. There are relationships you begged God for that would have destroyed your purpose. There were opportunities you thought you missed that would have pulled you off your path. Doors stayed shut because if they opened too early, you would have walked into them with the wrong version of yourself. Let me speak plainly now. Chosen ones are denied because they are observed. Heaven watches you more closely than others. Every reaction, every decision, every moment of obedience when no one is watching. That is why your tests feel personal. They are personal. You are being shaped for something that requires integrity under pressure. And here is another truth many do not tell you. Chosen ones trigger people without trying. Your presence exposes insecurity, hidden motives, and unresolved wounds, so people project onto you. They misunderstand you. They compete with you quietly. They withhold love, help, and fairness, not because you did something wrong, but because your light unsettles what they haven't healed. This is why you've experienced unfair treatment. This is why you've been blamed when you were innocent. This is why you've been overlooked even when you were qualified. But instead of breaking you, it refined you. You learned restraint. You learned patience. You learned to keep your heart clean in hostile environments. Chosen ones are denied early so they don't become entitled later. They are humbled early so pride never ruins them. They are isolated early so they learn to hear God clearly. Isolation is not punishment. It is training for discernment. Loneliness is part of the calling, not forever, but for a season. God needs to know that when everything is stripped away, you will still choose Him. That is why your faith had to grow without applause, without backup, without guarantees. Many of you listening have been denied emotionally the most. You gave love and didn't receive it back. You showed loyalty and were betrayed. You stayed honest while others played games. That pain sits deep. But understand this: God was training your heart to love without attachment, to give without losing yourself, and to walk away without bitterness. That kind of heart cannot be developed in comfort. It is forged through disappointment, silence, and endurance. And now, let me calm your spirit. Nothing you went through was wasted. Nothing you endured was random. Nothing you lost was permanent. Chosen ones are denied so that when they finally receive, they don't idolize the gift. They honor God instead. They don't cling. They steward. They don't chase. They recognize. They don't beg. They stand. Once a chosen one understands why they were denied, resentment leaves. Comparison leaves. Confusion leaves. Peace takes its place. You stop asking, "Why me?" and you start saying, "Prepare me." And that shift is everything. Because what comes after denial is not more loss. It is restoration with purpose. Let me add something important here, because this is where many chosen ones finally exhale. Denial trained your nervous system. It taught you how to survive storms without losing your mind. You learned how to stay calm while things were uncertain. You learned how to function while carrying unanswered prayers. That strength you have now did not come from motivation. It came from endurance. You see, chosen ones develop a quiet power. You don't panic easily anymore. You don't beg for explanations the way you used to. You don't chase closure. That is not because you stopped caring. It is because God matured you. He taught you that peace is more valuable than proof, and alignment is more important than approval. Another reason you were denied is because God was separating you from dependency. If things had worked out early, you might have relied on people instead of discernment. You might have trusted emotions instead of wisdom. You might have settled for comfort instead of calling. Denial forced you to develop spiritual backbone. And let me say this gently, but clearly. Some of the people who denied you were not evil. They were simply not assigned to your future. They were temporary, even if they stayed long. God used them as mirrors, not destinations. Once the lesson was complete, the connection had to end. Chosen ones often blame themselves for endings that were divinely arranged. Stop doing that. Not everything that ended was a failure. Some things ended because they served their purpose. Growth requires separation. And now, because you survived denial without becoming bitter, God can trust you with restoration. Because you stayed soft in a hard season, you will recognize gentleness when it arrives. Because you learned patience, you won't rush what God sends next. Because you learned solitude, you won't cling to connection. This is why your next season will feel different. You won't be desperate. You won't be anxious. You won't be trying to prove anything. You will move slower, wiser, and more grounded. And that is the posture of someone ready to receive what was once denied. So take a breath. You're not behind. You're not forgotten. You are being trained. And now, the training is giving way to alignment. The woman sent by God, not a fantasy, not a coincidence. Now let us speak clearly and carefully about this woman sent by God, because when this subject is mishandled, it creates illusion instead of healing. I am not here to feed fantasy. I am here to ground you in truth. God does not operate in confusion, emotional dependency, or obsession. What he sends is precise, intentional, and purposeful. This woman is not a product of loneliness. She is not created by your desire, your prayers alone, or your waiting. She is not something you manifest by force. She is sent. And when God sends someone, it is always tied to timing, readiness, and assignment. Many people miss this because they assume God moves according to human longing. He does not. He moves according to alignment. Chosen ones often walk through long seasons of isolation, and during those seasons, the mind can start creating images of what relief might look like. But God does not reward imagination. He honors obedience. This woman does not appear when you are desperate for connection. She appears when you are stable without it. That is a hard truth, but it is a freeing one. Let me say this with clarity. This woman is not coming to fill a void. Voids attract counterfeit connections. Wholeness attracts divine ones. God does not send someone to complete you. You are never incomplete. He sends someone to walk with you once you stop bleeding on people who did not cut you. She is not random. Her arrival is not coincidence. Heaven does not accidentally cross paths. Even what looks casual on the surface is ordered underneath. But you must understand something important. Divine does not mean dramatic. God is not theatrical. Most divine connections arrive quietly. They do not announce themselves. They reveal themselves over time. This woman carries a calm presence, not because life has been easy for her, but because she has learned how to regulate her spirit. She does not operate in emotional extremes. She does not pull you into chaos. She does not thrive on attention. She does not need to be chased or rescued. That alone will feel unfamiliar to many chosen ones who are used to intensity instead of peace. Chosen ones often confuse intensity with depth. Intensity is loud. Depth is steady. Intensity creates highs and crashes. Depth creates grounding. This woman carries depth. Being around her feels stabilizing, not draining. You don't feel the need to prove yourself around her. You don't feel pressure to perform spiritually or emotionally. You are allowed to be human. She will not rush you. That is important. God does not rush assignments. Pressure is not divine. Urgency from fear is not guidance. This woman will respect timing, boundaries, and process. If you are healing, she will not take that personally. If you need space, she will not manipulate you for closeness. She understands that real connection grows. It does not force itself. Now listen carefully. This woman is not perfect. If you are looking for perfection, you will miss her. God sends real people, not polished illusions. She will have flaws, opinions, strength, and boundaries. She will challenge you not to dominate you, but to grow you. And that is where many get uncomfortable. Growth requires friction, but this friction does not feel hostile. It feels refining. She does not compete with you. She does not try to outshine you or diminish you. She understands her role. She understands herself. That self-awareness is rare, and because of that, she can stand beside you without insecurity. Insecure people drain chosen ones. Grounded people strengthen them. Let me correct another misunderstanding. This woman is not always romantic. Some of you immediately assign romance to divine connections, and that is limiting God. Sometimes she appears as a helper who unlocks doors. Sometimes as a mentor who speaks truth without flattery. Sometimes as a partner. Sometimes as a connection who introduces you to the right environment. Do not limit God to one form. Her role is restoration, not distraction. She will not pull you away from God. She will not make you compromise your values. She will not encourage shortcuts. If someone requires you to abandon discipline, prayer, integrity, or peace to keep them, they are not sent by God. This woman also has a history. She has been prepared. God does not send unhealed vessels into sacred assignments. She has endured denial. She has experienced loss. She has walked through silence. That is why she recognizes you. Pain recognizes pain. growth recognizes growth. There is a familiarity that does not feel obsessive. It feels respectful. Chosen ones often attract people who want access to their light without honoring their boundaries. This woman is different. She honors boundaries. She does not push. She does not pry. She does not invade your inner world without invitation. That will feel strange if you are used to emotional intrusions. And here is something crucial. She does not need you to save her. God does not send projects to chosen ones. He sends partners in alignment. Mutual respect, mutual responsibility, mutual accountability. When someone needs you to fix them, they will eventually resent you for what they refuse to heal. This woman will not idolize you. She will not place you above God. She sees your calling, but she also sees your humanity. She respects both. She does not put unrealistic expectations on you. She understands that even chosen ones have limits. There will be confirmation, but it will not come as fireworks. It will come as consistency, repeated peace, clear communication, aligned values, honesty without cruelty, silence without anxiety, growth without pressure. That is how God confirms. Let me also say this. Just because someone is sent by God does not mean they stay forever in the same role. Some assignments are seasonal, some are lifelong. Do not rush to label. Let God reveal. Obsession with permanence ruins presence. Your responsibility is not to scan every face, every interaction, wondering if this is her. That creates anxiety, not alignment. Your responsibility is to stay healed, grounded, and obedient. Recognition comes naturally when you are ready. You will not have to convince yourself. You will not have to force meaning. This woman does not arrive to replace what you lost. She arrives to build what could not exist before you healed. That is why she feels different from anyone you met before. Not better. Different. Calmer. Safer. Clearer. If, as you listen to this, your spirit feels settled, not excited, not anxious, but grounded, that is confirmation. This message is not meant to tease you. It is meant to prepare you. And preparation always comes before arrival. Stay with me, because next, I will explain exactly what she restores in you that years of denial could not touch. What she will restore. The things you were denied. Chosen one, let me speak to the part of you that learned to stay strong when you should have been safe. There are things you were denied that shaped you quietly. Not loudly, not dramatically, but deeply. And God saw every moment of it. This woman sent by him does not come to impress you. She comes to restore what denial carved into your spirit. First, she restores emotional safety. Many chosen ones have lived their entire lives emotionally alert, always sensing shifts, always reading tone, always preparing for withdrawal, disappointment, or silence. You learned how to stay calm while bracing for impact. You learned how to love carefully. You learned how to be strong even when you were tired. That kind of survival changes the nervous system. It teaches you to exist, not rest. Around this woman, something unfamiliar happens. Your guard lowers without effort. Your body relaxes before your mind even understands why. You don't feel the need to rehearse conversations. You don't feel like one wrong word will cost you connection. There is no emotional punishment hiding behind affection. And that safety feels strange at first, because peace was never your normal. But this is not weakness. This is healing. She also restores love without manipulation. Many chosen ones were loved conditionally, appreciated when useful, valued when accommodating, praised when quiet, corrected when honest. Over time, you learned to earn love instead of receive it. You gave more than you got. You stayed longer than you should have. You tolerated things you should not have had to explain away. This woman does not attach love to performance. She does not make affection a reward. She does not withdraw warmth to regain control. Love flows steadily, not strategically. You are not kept guessing. You are not walking on emotional landmines. You are allowed to say no without fearing abandonment. That kind of love reprograms the heart. She restores support without competition. This matters more than people realize. Many chosen ones were surrounded by people who smiled while secretly competing, who clapped but compared, who listened but envied. Your growth made others uncomfortable, so they minimized it. They offered half support, conditional encouragement, quiet resistance. This woman does not see your growth as a threat. She does not feel smaller when you shine. She does not need to be ahead of you to feel secure. Your wins do not diminish her. Your strength does not intimidate her. Instead of rivalry, there is alignment. Instead of jealousy, there is pride. Instead of subtle sabotage, there is genuine support. That alone heals years of mistrust. She restores peace where chaos once lived. Many chosen ones associate connection with emotional turbulence, high highs, low lows, intense conversations, sudden silence, constant emotional processing. That kind of chaos trains your body to associate love with stress. So when peace arrives, it feels unfamiliar. This woman does not create emotional storms to feel close. She does not need conflict to feel alive. Silence with her is not punishment. Distance is not manipulation. Calm is not boredom, it is stability. And over time, your system learns that connection does not have to hurt to be real. She restores validation without explanation. Chosen ones are often misunderstood. You explain your intentions, you clarify your tone, you defend your heart. You constantly feel the need to be seen accurately. That is exhausting. Over time, it teaches you to shrink or over-explain. This woman sees you, not the version you perform, the version you are. She understands your depth without demanding justification. She recognizes your integrity without requiring proof. You are not constantly correcting misinterpretations. You are not defending your character. Being understood becomes the norm, not the exception. She restores respect without fear of abandonment. Many chosen ones learned that boundaries cost connection, that honesty led to distance, that standing firm meant being left. So you compromised, you overgave, you stayed quiet when you should have spoken, you learned to trade pieces of yourself for stability. This woman does not punish boundaries, she honors them. She does not threaten distance when you protect your peace. She does not require self-betrayal to stay. Respect becomes mutual. You are not choosing between authenticity and connection. You are allowed both. She also restores trust in yourself. This is subtle, but powerful. After years of being denied, questioned, or overlooked, many chosen ones begin doubting their own judgment. You second-guess instincts. You hesitate. You wonder if you are asking for too much. Being around someone who is aligned helps recalibrate your inner compass. Her consistency reinforces your discernment. Her honesty validates your intuition. Her presence confirms that you were not wrong. You were early. And that realization heals something very deep. Let me say this clearly. This restoration is not dramatic. It is not flashy. It does not come with fireworks. It comes with relief, with breath, with steadiness, with the quiet realization that you are no longer bracing for impact. And that is how you know it is from God. Because God restores gently, He heals deeply, and He replaces what was denied not with excess, but with exactness. What you receive now matches the work you did in silence. And this restoration prepares you for the next truth. Why she could not come before you were broken, and why that timing mattered more than you realize. Let me add something deeper here, because restoration is not only about what she gives you outwardly, but what begins to shift inside you because of her presence. Many chosen ones underestimate this part. You think restoration will look like happiness, relief, or finally feeling lucky. But before it looks like anything, it feels like permission. Permission to rest without guilt. Permission to stop anticipating loss. Permission to exist without constantly preparing for disappointment. For a long time, you lived in a state of internal readiness. Even in calm moments, part of you stayed alert, waiting for the tone to change, waiting for the other shoe to drop, waiting for something good to be taken away. That kind of hypervigilance does not disappear just because life improves. It disappears when the soul finally feels safe enough to stand down. This woman restores that inner permission. You begin to notice it in small ways. You sleep deeper. You think clearer. Your reactions slow down. You don't jump to conclusions as quickly. You don't assume rejection when silence appears. You don't feel the need to over-explain yourself or rush to fix misunderstandings. You trust the space instead of fearing it. That is restoration. She also restores your relationship with receiving. Many chosen ones are excellent givers. You learned to give because giving kept you needed. Giving kept you included. Giving kept you valuable. Over time, receiving felt uncomfortable, suspicious, like a setup. You questioned motives. You wondered what the cost would be. This woman gives without keeping score. She does not make generosity transactional. She does not remind you of what she's done for you. And at first, that may make you uneasy. You may wait for the catch. You may brace for withdrawal. But slowly, your spirit learns that receiving does not always come with debt attached. That heals something very old. She restores your belief that consistency is possible. Many chosen ones were surrounded by people who were emotionally inconsistent, present one day, distant the next, supportive when it suited them, absent when it mattered most. Over time, you learned not to rely too deeply. You became self-contained, independent to a fault. This woman shows up steadily, not perfectly, but reliably. Her words match her actions. Her presence does not fluctuate based on mood or control. And that consistency rebuilds trust, not just in her, but in connection itself. You start believing that stability is not a myth reserved for other people. She also restores your ability to soften without fear. Strength became your armor. Composure became your language. You learned how to stay composed even when you were hurting. But strength without softness becomes isolation. God never intended you to carry everything alone. This woman does not mistake softness for weakness. She does not exploit vulnerability. She treats your openness with care, and slowly you allow yourself to be less guarded, less armored, more present. That softening is not regression, it is healing. She restores hope without urgency. Chosen ones often carry hope mixed with exhaustion. You want good things, but you are tired of waiting. You believe, but cautiously. You hope, but with limits. Around her, hope feels calm again. Not desperate, not rushed, just present. You stop counting timelines. You stop forcing outcomes. You stop bargaining with God. You trust process again. And finally, she restores your sense of worth without struggle. For a long time, your worth was proven through endurance, through survival, through how much you could carry. But worth was never meant to be earned through suffering. This woman reflects back to you something you forgot. You were valuable even before you were strong, even before you were disciplined, even before you survived everything you did. And that realization changes how you move forward. This is not a reward for pain, it is a confirmation of growth, and that is why it feels different from anything you've known before. Why she comes only after you are broken, not before. Now let me speak to you with honesty and calm authority, because this is the part many chosen ones struggle to accept. This woman could not come before you were broken, not because God wanted you to suffer, not because you were unworthy, and not because you were being punished. She could not come earlier because the version of you that existed before the breaking could not hold what God was preparing to give you. Chosen ones often ask, why did it take so long? But the wiser question is, who was I before, and who am I now? Before the breaking, you were still operating from wounds you did not fully understand. You loved deeply, but from fear. Fear of being left, fear of being replaced, fear of not being enough. You attached quickly, overgave and compromised yourself just to keep connection alive. That version of you would have leaned on her instead of walking beside her. And God does not build destiny on dependency. The breaking was not meant to destroy you. It was meant to strip illusion, illusion about people, illusion about love, illusion about yourself. God had to remove false expectations before introducing something real. Because if he had sent her earlier, you would have confused attachment for alignment and intensity for intimacy. Before the breaking, chaos felt familiar. Emotional highs and lows felt normal. Inconsistency felt exciting. You tolerated instability because you believed love required sacrifice of self. You stayed in draining situations because you thought endurance proved loyalty. And because of that, peace would have felt foreign to you. You might have questioned it. You might have dismissed it. You might have walked away from it. So God allowed disappointment to teach you discernment. He allowed silence to teach you patience. He allowed loneliness to teach you self-trust. He allowed loss to teach you detachment. The breaking forced you inward. It removed distractions. It exposed patterns you kept avoiding. It showed you where you were still seeking validation instead of alignment. And that work could not be rushed. There are lessons you only learn when there is no one left to lean on but God. Chosen ones often feel a deep ache during this season. You feel empty, yet clearer. Detached, yet grounded. You are no longer who you were, but you are not yet who you are becoming. That in-between space feels uncomfortable, but that is where identity solidifies. God does his deepest work in the in-between. Before the breaking, you wanted connection to escape pain. After the breaking, you want connection that honors peace. That shift is everything. It changes what you attract. It changes what you tolerate. It changes what you recognize as divine. This woman is not sent to save you from brokenness. She is sent because you survived it, because you no longer need her to fill emptiness, because you no longer seek her to avoid yourself, because you can stand alone without bitterness. God waits until your identity is solid before introducing assignment-level connections. Fragile identity creates attachment. Solid identity creates alignment. If she had arrived before the breaking, she might have become your source. And God will never allow a person to take his place in your life. So he removes the need before sending the blessing. The breaking also taught you boundaries. Before, you explained yourself too much. You tolerated disrespect. You stayed silent when something felt wrong. After the breaking, you listen to your spirit. You walk away sooner. You speak with clarity. You don't negotiate your peace. That maturity matters. This woman arrives when you can hold your ground without aggression, when you can say no without guilt, when you can love without losing yourself. That is readiness. And here is something many overlook. The breaking protected her too. If she had arrived earlier, your wounds might have wounded her. Your unhealed triggers could have created cycles that were never meant to exist. God does not sacrifice one assignment to refine another. He prepares both separately. She had her own breaking, her own pruning, her own seasons of silence. So when your paths cross, it is not two broken people clinging to each other. It is two healed people choosing alignment. Brokenness does not disqualify you. Unexamined brokenness does. You examined yours. You faced it. You learned from it. That is why this season feels different. You are no longer reacting. You are responding. So let go of resentment toward your breaking. It was not excessive. It was not wasted. It was necessary. Because what God sends next requires strength, discernment, and peace, not desperation. And now that you carry those things, alignment is no longer delayed. Let me add this final layer, because some of you still wrestle with grief over who you had to become through the breaking. You look back and think, I lost so much of myself. But listen to me carefully. You did not lose yourself. You shed versions of yourself that could not survive where God was taking you. The breaking taught you restraint. You no longer chase what runs. You no longer explain what should be understood. You no longer beg for clarity from people who thrive in confusion. That is not hardness. That is wisdom. And wisdom is required for what comes next. You also learned how to be alone without being lonely. That may sound small, but it is powerful. You learned how to sit with your thoughts, how to pray without bargaining, how to trust God without needing immediate reassurance. That kind of faith is quiet, but it is unshakable. Before the breaking, your identity was still entangled with approval. After the breaking, your identity is anchored. You know who you are even when no one affirms it. You know your value even when no one recognizes it. That stability changes the energy you carry, and energy determines access. This is why when she arrives, you won't cling, you won't overextend, you won't abandon yourself to keep connection. You will meet her as you are, not as who you think you need to be. And that authenticity is what allows real connection to breathe. God had to teach you how to hold blessing without fear. Fear makes people grasp. Peace allows people to receive. You learned peace through breaking, and now you can receive without panic, without suspicion, without urgency. So if you still feel tenderness when you think about that season, honor it. That tenderness means you healed without becoming numb. It means you grew without becoming bitter, and that is rare. The breaking did not harden you, it refined you, and refinement is always preparation for something sacred. How to recognize her without losing yourself. Now listen closely, because this is where wisdom protects you. Many chosen ones fear missing what God sends, and that fear alone can cause them to lose themselves. Recognition is not about chasing signs or over-analyzing people. Recognition is about inner alignment. When you are grounded, you do not grasp. You observe, you discern, you remain yourself. The first way you recognize her is through peace, not excitement. This may surprise you. Most people think divine connections feel electric, overwhelming, dramatic. That is not how God works with chosen ones. Chaos already trained you in intensity. God restores you with calm. When she enters your life, your spirit settles, your mind quiets. You do not feel the urge to rush, impress, or secure her place. You feel present. Peace is the language of alignment. If you feel anxious, afraid of losing her, or pressured to act quickly, pause. That is not recognition. That is old survival patterns waking up. God does not lead through fear of loss. He leads through clarity. You also recognize her because you remain yourself around her. This is critical. You do not shrink. You do not exaggerate. You do not soften your truth to stay liked. You do not perform spiritually or emotionally. You do not abandon your routines, values, or discipline to maintain connection. If someone requires self-betrayal to stay close, they are not aligned. This woman does not ask you to choose between connection and integrity. She respects your rhythm, your boundaries, your process. She does not compete with your purpose. She supports it even when it limits access to you. That alone sets her apart. Another sign is clarity over confusion. Chosen ones are used to mixed signals, hot and cold behavior, unspoken expectations, emotional guessing games. With her, communication is clean, not perfect, but honest. You are not decoding messages or questioning intent. Silence does not feel threatening. Space does not feel like punishment. There is room to breathe. You also recognize her because growth continues, not stalls. Some connections feel good but slow you down. They distract you from prayer, discipline, and purpose. That is not alignment. This woman does not derail you. She sharpens you. You remain focused. You remain disciplined. You remain connected to God. If anything, your alignment deepens. Here is something important. Recognition does not mean instant attachment. Chosen ones often mistake recognition for urgency. They rush to define, label, secure. That is fear-based. God reveals in stages. You recognize first. You confirm through time. You commit through consistency. Anything that skips these steps creates imbalance. This woman will not demand answers you have not received yet. She will not push timelines. She understands that God leads your life, not emotion, and she respects that leadership. Another key sign is mutual effort without imbalance. You are not carrying the connection alone. You are not overextending while she withholds. You are not proving value. There is reciprocity, not perfectly equal, but fair. Energy flows both ways. That balance protects you from losing yourself. Pay attention to how you feel after interactions, not just during them. Do you feel grounded or drained? Clear or confused? Strengthened or scattered? Divine alignment leaves you steadier than before. If you consistently feel anxious or depleted, that is not recognition. That is warning. Now let me speak directly to your fear. Many chosen ones worry, what if I miss her? Listen to me carefully. You cannot miss what is assigned to you. God does not hide destiny behind anxiety. If you stay aligned, obedient, and grounded, recognition will be natural. You will not have to convince yourself. You will not have to chase clarity. It will unfold. The danger is not missing her. The danger is losing yourself by forcing connection. That is why God trained you through solitude, so you would never abandon yourself again. This woman recognizes you too, and recognition is mutual. You do not chase recognition. You respond to it. There is dignity in that. Another sign is that your discernment stays sharp. You do not ignore red flags. You do not excuse disrespect. You do not rationalize inconsistency. You remain honest with yourself. God does not send connection that requires blindness. And let me say this clearly, recognition does not mean perfection. There will be differences, opinions, adjustments, but there will be respect underneath it all, safety underneath it all, growth underneath it all. You will know her not because she completes you, but because she complements your peace. She fits into your life without dismantling it. She adds without replacing. She walks beside you, not ahead of you, not behind you. Chosen ones lose themselves when they confuse longing with alignment. You no longer need to do that. You are wiser now, quieter, more discerning. Trust that. If you remain yourself, you will recognize her. If you stay aligned, you will not miss her. If you stay grounded, you will not lose yourself. And now, the final piece matters deeply. What you must do now, in this season, to stay ready for what God is sending. Let me add one more layer of wisdom here, because recognition is not only about identifying her, it is about protecting your peace while you do. Many chosen ones make the mistake of becoming spiritually alert, but emotionally careless. You must remain whole while discerning. One of the clearest signs you are recognizing her correctly is that you do not abandon your life to accommodate her presence. Your routines remain intact. Your prayer life stays steady. Your discipline does not collapse. Your purpose does not get postponed. Divine connections integrate into your life. They do not consume it. If something begins to eclipse your focus on God or your mission, that is not alignment. Another subtle but powerful sign is that your intuition stays calm. Chosen ones have sharp intuition, but trauma can distort it into hypervigilance. With her, your intuition does not scream, it confirms quietly. There is no inner alarm constantly asking you to check, monitor, or secure the connection. Your spirit rests. That rest is information. You also notice that your self-respect increases, not decreases. You do not compromise values to be liked. You do not accept behavior you would previously tolerate out of fear. You do not silence your needs. In fact, you become clearer about them. And clarity does not push her away. It strengthens the connection. Pay attention to how conflict is handled. This is important. In misaligned connections, conflict creates fear, withdrawal, or punishment. With her, disagreement does not threaten connection. There is accountability without cruelty, space without abandonment, resolution without domination. That is maturity at work. Another thing you will notice is that you are not hiding parts of yourself. You do not edit your faith. You do not shrink your depth. You do not mask your seriousness or your softness. You show up fully, and you are received, not tolerated. That kind of acceptance encourages wholeness. Let me calm another fear. Some of you worry that staying guarded will cause you to miss recognition. Wisdom is not guardedness. Wisdom is awareness. Guardedness closes the heart. Awareness keeps it open with boundaries. This woman will not be offended by your discernment. She respects it because she carries it too. Recognition also unfolds over time. Do not pressure yourself to decide everything immediately. Let consistency speak. Let character reveal itself. God confirms through patterns, not moments. Stay patient. Above all, remember this: recognition never requires you to lose your center. If you feel pulled off balance, slow down. God moves with peace, not panic. And if you stay centered, you will recognize what is truly sent and gently release what is not. That is how you recognize her without losing yourself. What you must do now: preparing for what God is sending. Now we come to the part where responsibility meets promise. Everything you have heard so far is not meant to make you wait passively. It is meant to position you. God does not prepare blessings in isolation from preparation in you. What He is sending requires readiness, not anticipation. The first thing you must do now is protect your inner world. Chosen ones often underestimate how sensitive their spirit is after healing. You are no longer built to tolerate noise, chaos, or emotional pollution. Be intentional about what you consume. Conversations, environments, content, and people all leave residue. If something consistently disturbs your peace, it is not neutral. It is interference. This is not about isolation, it is about discernment. You are allowed to outgrow spaces without explaining yourself. Next, you must stay disciplined in the quiet things. Prayer when no one sees. Integrity when no one rewards it. Obedience when it costs comfort. This season is not about dramatic moves, it is about consistency. Many chosen ones lose alignment not through rebellion, but through distraction. Small compromises slowly dull discernment. Stay anchored. God confirms big things through small obedience. You must also heal what you are tempted to ignore. Do not rush into the next season carrying unaddressed resentment, bitterness, or grief. Healing does not mean forgetting. It means releasing the emotional charge. Anything unresolved will try to resurface later, and God wants you free, not triggered. If you feel resistance towards certain memories, people, or patterns, that is an invitation, not a threat. Address it gently. Pray through it. Sit with it. Healing is not punishment. It is preparation. Another important step is releasing urgency. Urgency often disguises itself as faith, but it is usually fear. Fear of missing out. Fear of delay. Fear of being forgotten. God does not operate under urgency. He operates under order. If you rush, you risk misalignment. Trust timing more than desire. Now listen carefully. You must also stop entertaining counterfeit attention. Chosen ones attract interest easily, but not all interest is assignment. Some people are drawn to your depth, your calm, your presence, but they are not meant to walk with you. Attention without alignment is distraction. Learn to say no without guilt. God cannot send what is real if your hands are full of what is temporary. You must remain honest with yourself. If something feels off, do not rationalize it away. Discernment does not need proof to be valid. You learned this through breaking. Trust it now. Silence your spirit, and you silence God's guidance. At the same time, do not become hyper-vigilant. There is a difference between discernment and suspicion. Discernment listens, suspicion searches. Stay open, but grounded. Another crucial preparation is strengthening your identity. You must know who you are without external confirmation. Compliments cannot inflate you. Criticism cannot collapse you. When identity is anchored, connection becomes choice, not need. God sends assignment-level people to those who do not need them to feel whole. Also, stay grateful for the process, not just the outcome. Gratitude keeps your heart soft. Softness allows recognition. Bitterness blinds discernment. Honor every season for what it taught you. Even the painful ones carried wisdom. Do not announce what God is doing prematurely. Some things are still forming. Protect what is sacred. Not everyone needs access to your inner work. Privacy is not secrecy, it is stewardship. Lastly, keep your focus on God, not the person. This is critical. The moment you fixate on who is coming instead of who is leading you, alignment weakens. God sends through obedience, not obsession. If you stay grounded, disciplined, healed, and focused, preparation becomes natural. You won't strain, you won't wait anxiously. You will live fully, knowing alignment is unfolding, and that is the posture of someone ready. Now, let me bring this all together and settle your spirit with final confirmation. Conclusion. Confirmation, peace, and divine alignment. Chosen one, take a slow breath with me now. Let your shoulders relax. Let your spirit settle. If you have listened this far, it is not by chance. God does not speak this clearly to distracted hearts. He speaks to those who are ready to understand without rushing, to receive without grasping, and to trust without fear. Everything you endured was not meant to break you permanently. It was meant to prepare you precisely. The denial was not punishment. The delay was not abandonment. It was alignment. God was shaping you into someone who could receive restoration without losing themselves, love without fear, and connection without compromise. This woman sent by God is not a fantasy and not a reward for suffering. She is confirmation of growth. She is evidence that healing took root. She arrives not to rescue you, but to walk with you in peace, clarity, and mutual respect. And when she comes, you will not be confused. You will be calm. You will be grounded. You will recognize alignment without anxiety. Remember this: you are not late. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are being refined in silence. And what God aligns, He protects. Stay patient. Stay obedient. Stay anchored in God. Do not rush the unfolding. Do not compare your timing. What is sent for you cannot miss you. Before you go, chosen ones, like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, tap the bell icon, and share this message with other chosen ones who need reassurance and peace right now. And comment 777 in the comments as a declaration that you trust God's timing, honor His process, and remain aligned with your divine path. Walk gently. Stay grounded. God is not finished with you.